This video is going to cover some curves from two views techniques that are pretty basic, so we'll call it an intermediate video, and then take you through matrix history and rhino history and what you can do with the new tools and a little trick. We can fool matrix history a little bit using rhino history. So hopefully this will all work out and make sense. To begin, I'm going to show you the new picture frame tool, which is its biggest fan, I think. Open up picture frame and we'll go find the picture for this tutorial. Okay, once you find it, remember that you're placing the bottom edge of this. So use shift to pull it in a straight line. And then the cool thing about this tool is that it comes out as a surface on your screen, so you can use the transform menu to scale it up and just get it to the size you want for the model. About that. Okay, the other great thing is you can rotate this surface. So we can see how this is all at a weird angle, we can get it at the right angle. So rotate, select the surface and click rotate, and then draw a straight line through the model and shift to rotate it down straight. And if you didn't get it quite right the first time, it's very forgiving. Okay, now you can even use curves to split this thing. It's a surface, so if you don't want it on that weird angle, that just distracts me way too much. Go ahead and draw a rectangle. I use the 3-point option and just one end to the other end and down. It's okay that it's a little small. We'll size it here. Okay. Go ahead and 1D scale. Just get it to the right size that you want. Okay, great. Now select the picture frame and split it with the curve. Yep, you can delete everything else. That looks so much better. Okay, and this is for another neat purpose. We're going to take this curve, and with it selected and through finger, we're going to use a tool called Remap to C-plane. And that's going to draw this curve that's flattened through finger so that it's flat inside view at the exact same location. So remap to C-plane, copy equals yes, and the new C-plane is side view. Okay, just make sure when you start that up, you have through finger selected, click on the tool, and then click on the side view viewport anywhere on the grid, and it'll just map it to the new viewport. That's a nice trick. Okay, let's place the side view of this model using picture frame again. All right, click on open, and we'll set this thing inside view again using shift to make it go in straight lines. I'm getting pretty good at that. It's almost the right size. Let's bring it over. Now the reason we put this here was so that we could get the right size so that the front of the model and the side of the model are the same size. That's always helpful when modeling things. All right, so 2D scale from the base here, if you like where that's located, to the top of the model and then to the top of our little box. And that's a little too big for me. There we go. Get it just centered in that box. And I mean, it's not exactly perfect, but it's going to really be helpful. I love this. That looks funny. Okay, the other cool thing about this is, of course, the front of the model's here and the back of the model's here. It wants to be facing this way. I don't know how I figured that out, but at some point I did. So go ahead and mirror the picture. You can even mirror it. Yes, you can. Hit copy equals no and mirror this around F4. So that's facing the other way toward the through finger view. Great. All right, let's save this whole thing off. They also save to job bags. Delightful. You just have to keep them in the same spot on your computer. Okay, now let's take a look at how we're going to build this model. Right. Grab a new layer color, and we'll just start with project turned on and draw 2 arc directions to represent the side of this. Hold down shift. Go ahead and pull it out. Oops. Make it a little closer to the model. And pull it out for a nice arced shape that follows the model. Okay, I forgot to center this. That's all right. Pull the whole thing to center. If you want to be anal about it, you can bring your curve with you. Just be careful not to grab this one if you want it plainer. Okay. And mirror. 4. And we'll move it over a little more. Mirror. Good. Remember how you always want to draw things centered at F4. That's always a good idea. Okay. Job bag this. All right. Similar in the side viewport, we're going to go ahead and draw this shape as well. Because we have 2 views, we can use curve from 2 views to create it. So let's use interp curve and just begin drawing this shape. I like blend to make these corners just really smooth. We're going to actually let the profile cap make those corners, which also uses the blend command, so it's fine. We'll go ahead. Actually, then let's undo the last 2. So we don't actually need them. Okay, go ahead and join these up into 2 curves. Then we're going to rebuild them at this stage. And actually can rebuild them one at a time. Check out the point count they have now and try a lower point count. And if it varies too much from your shape, try a higher point count. Sometimes you need to go as high as 2 times. That really wasn't so bad, the number, but try lower than that. You want the fewest possible points. Rebuild. Okay, not bad. Usually it relaxes that curve too, so if you have any weird shapes, it just relaxes them, makes it a little easier to sweep. Okay, we are ready to run curve from 2 views on this model in order to get sort of the outside rails, the the 4-rail sweep, the rails for the 4-rail sweep. All right, so we're going to select, actually before we do this, we're just going to slide this over so that it's centered more. Great. Okay, now we're going to grab user 2 and go ahead and use curve from 2 views on this model. Curve from 2 views with history, of course. Our curves are these 2, these 2. Same thing on the other side, and do this again. Don't mirror these. That way history will work with it. And these 2. Okay, and there's our little 4-rail sweep all set up to go. We just need some profiles for that. Okay, so let's grab, I like to do it this way. I could just pull them out of Profile Placer, and that's fine. However, I'm going to show you how to draw them and tell Profile Placer exactly the profile that you want to use at the location you want it. So we're going to grab the cutting layer and draw a plane. That's the surface menu plane tool. And if we draw this in the through finger viewport, we know it's going to come out flush against that view. Okay. And looking at this, I want to take everything green and purple, just slide it back a little ways. I'm cheating, but that's okay. Okay. And I'm going to set up to draw a profile that touches all 4 of these rails. I'm going to do that by running the green with the orange and running the intersect command. It lives right here. And that places points wherever curves and surfaces interact. Okay. So I can take my orange and put them on gray and turn them off with all the other creation layers or creation curves. Grab the creation layer color, and I'm ready to draw the profile. Going to grab the line tool and make this flat on the inside. I'm going to grab the arc direction and make it curved on the outside, snapping to my points, of course. Now, The last piece of this is to get the sides. And you know that they were made from these curves. We don't want to change anything about these curves. So we're going to select them, run duplicate in place, and then we're going to hide them. And then the new ones, or the old ones, are going to be showing. Okay, and just to check that these are the old ones, I mean the new ones and not the old ones, we can select their control points and drag on them and just see that the curves won't change, okay? Because remember, we got history turned on and we ran curve from two views and everything. So these are the new ones, okay? And these are okay to split. The old ones are not okay to split. So split these with a point. Actually, just split them. Go ahead and split them with all the yellow curves, which were drawn to the snaps that are touching them. Okay, so you will have the leftovers here. Delete them, and these are going to be your new profiles. Join them up. Now it matches exactly that shape that you had drawn to start with. Join them up. And now's a good time to job bag this. And if you want to check and see, just bring back your original curves that you had hid, turn on their control points, grab them, and using, say, transform, we can push the center two outward. We should see the whole model change, and it does. Okay, so those still have history enabled. That's always a good thing to check. This tutorial is kind of to follow some advanced, a little more advanced uses of history. Okay, so that's how to check. Okay, we know that we have our profiles out here. Let's get them on a nice profile color. And then we're going to take these and we have to add them to the center rail. Okay, that's going to be the one they're associated with. And these four are going to be the rails for the four rail sweep. So to associate it with that center rail, we select it, hit F6, and start up MSR. Okay, now notice your handles are all wacky. It thinks somewhere over here is the origin, maybe over here. We can fix that. Go to the edit command, use edit origin, and there's our origin, someplace bizarre. Stick him right at the midpoint, and go back to move. Okay, and go back to, all right, if you take a look, we don't have a position on curve slider. See, there's no orb there, there's no position on curve slider down here, and nothing knows that it's on a rail yet. Okay, so we do the select rail curve option. We do keep location equals yes, and the rail curve is that one. Okay, now it keeps that in exactly the right place for the sweep. So that's a really important step. And now it has its little orb back so we can add profiles. Click on add. And give me one little guy right before he flips, right about there. You can also select a second rail for him. That's this. Okay, and he's perfect. And if you want to, you can scale him down or anything you want. Press enter to keep him. Okay, now we've got to do that a second time down here. So select your curve, hit F6, MSR. Okay, all these handles are wonky, so we do edit, edit origin, and our origin point we drag down to the middle. Perfect. We go back to move where we have the select rail curve option. That's also right here, select rail. When you start it up, just make sure keep location equals yes if you don't want to move that thing, which you don't. The rail curve is the inside one, and it left it exactly where it was. Now we can do an add because it's associated with the rail, and put the next one up here, located pretty much at the end of the earring. We're just going to create the little bloop at the top with the profile cap. Okay. He can also have a second rail, that's the purple on the outside. Okay, and press enter. And you've got it. Okay, let's job bag this. It is all ready to sweep and to have history. Grab a metal color before you do the sweep and run the surface menu command sweep multi. That's our multi-rail sweep tool. Okay, grab the inside pair and then working your way around sequentially the outside pair. Now select your profiles and select them in order, working your way around the earring. Press enter, and there's your beautiful surface. I love it. It's so pretty. And it's totally history enabled. So just remember what the history can do. We can change the profile shape and size and location. Okay. We can even take the original two curves now, Turn on their control points, select them, run the transform command, and from F4 we can scale this up or down. We can move them around, okay? We have total control over this surface with history. Change the shapes, change their sizes and location. It's all there for us, okay? And if you're not liking this, it's doing a funny thing right there. Go to your profiles and make sure their sweep points are set up. So F6, MSR, edit points, and just place these where they touch the rails. Okay, with all the edit points corrected in that way, we're going to move on to adding gems to this, and we're going to use the Matrix 6 history tools so we can have complete history enabled model. As you know, we have history on all these, including the profile history, the rail history through curve from two views history that was used to create the rail curves. Okay, profile history. So we have history already set up on this entire little surface. So let's look at adding some gems and we'll have a completely history enabled model. Right? We can turn back on our picture. If it's out there, there it is. Unshade the model so we can see it and make sure project is turned on. And now we're going to just grab the interp curve tool and draw this shape straight through the model for the gems. Okay, we're going to run project and project the curve onto the surface. Okay, we can turn back off the picture now. Okay, the curve wraps around the surface, so we need to explode it first. And then just delete all the parts we don't need. Just using the one that's on the surface of the object. Okay, we're going to take that curve and place it into our gem on a curve tool. Okay, now notice the gems can point in weird directions. We want to make sure they're pointing down at the surface. So we click on F4. Instead of down, we choose the object. This starts up the select surface curve or point for gem direction prompt. So we click on the surface and now they're all pointing in the right way. And these are actually wrapping up and over the surface, which might be good. I don't think we have that many in our design though, so we can turn that design back on and just get this looking somewhat like it. Okay, looking in the through finger view. That looks pretty good for the start position. Let's size these guys up. 4 gems looks about right, but we can put a taper on it if we'd like. End position should come down to the side, please. And we can even see about scaling these up. And scaling the size down so that they all fit on there. And make sure our spacing isn't too small. Something like that. You guys can play with this a little more. Get it right. Okay? We're going to raise these up above the surface just a little bit. Okay, press enter to keep them. And we'll jab bag this. Now we're going to look at a tool that creates a curve around the gems. It can actually create 2, and then the curves keep up with the gem history so that you'll always have updates. So if you choose to change the gems, move them around, scale them, maybe your customer comes in with sizes that are different than the ones we've placed here, all that can be changed with history. So let's select the gems, put them in this tool. It's called Channel Border Tool. Okay, and then figure out how close or far away from the gems you want this curve. We're going to place a profile on it. We're also going to give it a little bit of distance at the end so that we can place this profile sort of off down here. It's going to be this piece right here, this little guy. Okay. Press enter to place it. Now put these back in the tool, run the tool one more time, and you get another instance of this. So go ahead and place these past that to set up for a 2-rail sweep. Okay. All right, I just turned off the picture for us one more time. We're now ready to place profiles on this guy. So we're going to take the inside curve And in the profile placer tool, stick the curve in there, and we'll get a little profile on him. Now this is all rotated at a weird angle, so go ahead and rotate it so that it's pretty much flat to the two curves. And obviously size it way down here. And then using position on curve, you can pull it out past the end gem. Not so far past that it flips. There we go, right about there. And we can size it down, move it over, get it just about centered on those two curves. And add another one and place this one up towards the top. Again, it's going to just flip and do weird things. Don't worry about that. We can flip it back. Okay, the curve tool we're looking for to, the handle we're looking for to flip it back is roll. Just get it about flush. And then this has a taper in it so we can make it wider at the top here. Just take a look at how you want that to be. We can always edit it, so we're fine. Press enter. Probably want to sink it down to the ring a little. F6 MSR. And using our Y offset. It's always hard to tell which one on these things that aren't gems, aren't rings. Just go ahead and stick it down in the ring. Now we can always edit this after we've placed it. Okay? And let's see how this is going to come out. Sweep 2 with history between the two rails, and make sure closed equals no, and then grab the two profiles in the order it suggests. There he is. Let's take a look at our picture. Okay, you can see that it's this piece. We're going to rotate it and mirror it in just a second. Let's take it and place it on to a nice layer, metal layer. Okay, and now you can see it overlaps the gems a little more than it does in the design. F6, MSR, and just slide it over. This is the beauty of the history part of this tool. Okay, and then the really cool thing is once we begin to edit these gems, the history on the channel border keeps up, which is the rail for this little surface, which means the surface is going to keep up as well. So we basically made our own little metal piece using this tool. You can also check it out from the side. It looks like it might want to come down a little more. So it's pressed into the ring some more. So F6, MSR. And here's where Matrix 6 really gets its strength, because right now we're editing this tool as we're designing it. We're editing it, or we're designing it as we're editing it. We're editing it as we design it, etc. So it's an interactive process where we're not just done with the surface when we're done. We have to go back and build the curves and figure out what curves are going to make which surfaces. We're able to edit this surface on the fly thanks to Matrix 6. So let's place the other side much the same way we did with this side. Select the curve, F6, MSR. We're going to get in there and add another one to these rails. With position along curve slider, I'm going to bring it up this side, and of course it flips, but don't worry about that. Just roll it back over. Try to get the same effect here. We're going to, using the Y offset, we're just going to move it over next to the gems. Just figure out where you want it to exit the earring there. And we're going to move it down in space. Okay, this is a little tricky because it's of how it's oriented to the two rails. But thank goodness for the handles, huh? All right, when you like it, use add one more time. And drag this all the way up to the position next to the other gem. Again, these things are just rolling. It's banking according to how the gems are banking in space. So this curve is actually twisting and turning even though you can't see it to follow that gem line. So it's a powerful little tool. Sometimes it can work against you, and definitely in this example is going to work for us. So sink this down. Same thing into the gem. In fact, if you wanted to, you could add from this one so that it was roughly already at the same correct size and stuff, but size and scale it. And of course with history we can do that again. Grab your metal color, sweep to history with the two rails, and make sure closed equals no and the two profiles. Okay, there he is. And again, we can just play with this and figure out if it's too tall, if it's too thick. We can fix it. F6 MSR. Just a little too tall. And I want to say it's a little too thick as well. Okay, cool. Now, we're going to select the whole kit and caboodle here and rotate and copy it to the other side. But I've got a little trick for you first, and this is the real heart of the tutorial here, something we haven't really seen yet in our version 6 examples. So we're going to grab the surface, the gems, we're going to turn off matrix history and turn on rhino history. Okay, we're going to rotate this with copy, F4, shift, and click. And that places the same gems roughly on the other side of the design. Now you can decide, actually we did a pretty good job with this one. First time I did it, not such a good job. Okay, oh I lied. Before we do that, let's just cap the ends. So we will cap these with matrix history turned on. And cap. Okay, and we'll give this a little 0.7, whatever, 0.7, okay. Run the same thing on this guy. And if you do flip and flip again, he'll get flipped over. I just want to make sure everything has history that can. F6, profile cap, enter. It goes defaults just to the last one you used. So grab the little curve if you can. F6, profile cap, and flip again. We'll get him going the right way. Okay, now we're ready to do the trick I was about to explain. Sorry for the diversion there. Go ahead and select the surfaces. Don't join them up yet. Grab the gems and run with matrix history off and rhino history on. Rotate with copy. Okay, and place the other copy at the bottom. Now we can edit both sides while keeping them mirrored and rotated. Okay, with rhino history on, turn matrix history back on. Now rhino history is going to copy all the changes we make on this side to this side, and matrix history is going to enable us to make changes to this side and have all the surfaces keep up. Okay, so I'll show you what I mean. Let's take the group, ungroup it, and watching the other side for emphasis here on my point, we can take the gem, F6, MSR. Now you can decide that it needs to be bigger, pushed out this way a little bit, and maybe raised up. Enter. That's going to change this side, which in turn has changed this side, and that's rhino history at work. Okay, matrix history allowed this surface to keep up with the gem because of the channel border tool. Rhino history allowed this surface to change to keep up with this surface. So that's how to use both history tools at a time. We'll show you something like that again. Decide this one's too small now. Grab the curve, F6, MSR. Okay, let's make it wider. Make it a little taller, and we'll push it this way to cover up our great big new gem there. Enter. Okay, it did the same thing on the bottom half. I'll just hit undo and redo so you can see that. This is a really powerful use of these tools. This one's a little too far for our design. Let's say F6 MSR, position on curve, and just sneak it back. Enter. And it shrunk this side as well. Okay, so here's a completely history-enabled model thanks to rhino history and matrix history. I'll just turn off some of the curves here. And we can shade it up and see the results.